For an equipment reference, I am watching all of my movies either on my dedicated 4K Blu-ray player in my bedroom on a 55-inch Samsung 8000 series 4K TV, and in my rec room on the Xbox One S Blu-ray player, watching those on a 65-inch Samsung 8000 series 4K TV. Just to let you know how I'm watching these movies.
Alright, so you got Will Smith playing Will Smith being chased by Will Smith playing Will Smith. Gemini Man. Let's get into it.
For me, it was Tuesday.
Welcome everyone to another episode of For Me, It Was Tuesday. I'm your host, GQ. Do me a favor, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, hit the like button, leave some comments in the videos. Also, check out our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Search Culture Junkies, you'll definitely find us. And consider going over to culturejunkies.net so you'll be able to be on top of all the stuff that we offer. There's a lot there. So, Gemini Man, directed by Ang Lee, distributed by Paramount Pictures, starring Will Smith, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, Benedict Wong, and Clive Owen. The film itself is actually, it's a mixed bag, to be 100% honest. There's some good aspects of the film, and there's some aspects of the film that just do not work. Now, going to the director, Ang Lee, the dude is a visionary director without a doubt. Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon is still, bar none, one of the best films out there. But at the same time, you've got Ang Lee's Hulk. And we all know how that turned out. So it's not necessarily a knock on him in that regard. I mean, the guy, he's a very, very good director. Sometimes it just depends on what script is in hand and what you have to work with. Now, Will Smith, good actor. Mary Elizabeth Winstead, good actress. Benedict Wong, good actor. Clive Owen, good actor. So you've got a good, talented cast. The problem is the story itself, it's kind of hit or miss. Now, when you get down to the story itself, the plot, of course, is that Will Smith is an aging ex-Marine hitman that, you know, he's got 72 confirmed kills, and he's an older guy, you know, he's in his 50s, I believe, in the film. And the whole premise is the agency he works for, the DIA, which is hilarious in and of itself because we have a museum here called the Detroit Institute of Arts, whose initials are DIA. But so his organization is kind of, you know, of the opinion that, okay, he's kind of over the hill, we need to retire him. Well, he wants to retire anyway because his conscience is getting to him. You know, he's killed 72 people and he kind of feels a certain way about that. But his agency wants to retire him the hard way, you know, basically eliminate him, get rid of him. So they tried the old-fashioned way, send a kill squad to his house. He kills the entire squad because he's that good. It's established thoroughly through the film that he is the best, you know, when it comes to being an assassin and being aware of his surroundings and, you know, people not being able to easily take him out. So a shadow organization called Gemini decides that, you know what, you guys tried it your way, I'm gonna do it my way. And Clive Owen plays a character named Clay Varys who decides, hey, you know what, I've got the perfect way to take this guy out. And he sends a clone of Will Smith's character to go after him and take him out. Now here's the problem with that premise. It's been done before. I liked it when there was a movie called The One. Now granted, it wasn't the exact same premise, but I like the idea of, you know, a great actor going against himself. In this case, it was Jet Li fighting against Jet Li in The One, because, you know, at the time, what other martial artist is going to be able to fight on his level? When it comes to this film, I don't know, it kind of worked, it kind of didn't. The problem I had with it, and this goes back to the marketing situation with a lot of films, the trailer gave too much away. They literally, in one of the trailers, the final shot is a shot of young Will Smith. So it's like, okay, that would have been something you could have just had in the film as a good reveal. That would have been something interesting to just leave to the audience to find out in the theater versus, oh, okay, I know I'm going into a movie to watch old Will Smith fight against young Will Smith. So you take that whole thing out of it and it's like, all right, well, I already know what I'm in for. I would have rather have been, you know, little teases here and there that this guy and him have a lot of similarities, but you kind of told me that in the trailer. So I didn't really like that aspect of it. And again, as a plot, I believe this actual plot has been around, the script anyway, has been around since 1997. And, you know, as scripts sometimes do in Hollywood, this has been shopped around and floated around, and different lead actors have been attached to, you know, star in the lead role. But thankfully on the one side, they waited until the technology caught up for them to do what they wanted to do. Now, when it comes to film tech, James Cameron always comes to mind as one of the pioneers who will get in there, and whatever the best tech is, he will get it and find ways to, you know, for lack of a better word, exploit it and make it, you know, top notch. Avatar is a, you know, prime example. He took 3D to a point it had never been taken before when James Cameron did Avatar. Now, that being said, Ang Lee pretty much does the same thing with this film. He shot the film. I think basically what he did is he went to the RE company. RE, send a check. Actually, no, don't even send a check, send a couple cameras. He went to the RE company and probably went through their entire warehouse and just started pointing and saying, I need this camera, I need these Cine lenses, I need this 3D rig. You know, he basically grabbed everything that they had and shot a film that looks amazing. I cannot take anything away from the way this film looks. The cinematography in this film is top notch. It's shot in 120 frames per second. Now, for a lot of the gamers out there, whatever, we've been playing games at 120 frames, you know, for years, you know, whatever. I mean, you know, we're used to it. But when it comes to film, most films are shot in 24 frames a second. So, I mean, you're looking at extremely high frame rate. And here's where the issues start to come in. When you're looking at something that's shot in such a high frame rate, they don't have the option to use motion blur. Usually motion blur kind of hides those little imperfections and things that you see in film, because again, with a 24 frame a second film with motion blur, it kind of, your eyes fill in the quote unquote gaps of, you know, how things look and whatever. When you're at such a high frame rate, if it's a mistake and there's no motion blur to cover it, you can't use motion blur. It's going to just look odd. And the thing with this film is you run into that same issue that a lot of people ran into with the first time they saw 1080p or high definition TV for the first time coming from the old CRT standard, is that quote unquote soap opera effect that people say that they see, where it just doesn't look right. And when you look at this film, you run into that quite a bit. And it's unfortunate because the visuals, I mean, they shot in Cartagena, Colombia, they shot in Budapest, Hungary, and they also shot in Georgia. And just like Cartagena, that whole sequence, which is highlighted by the motorcycle chase and a rooftop, you know, rooftop versus ground foot chase, just the visuals of that city. I mean, just the diverse colors, the color depth, the streets, the people, that is what truly takes place and takes advantage of this 4K format and that high dynamic range and just that color spread and the color depth. That's when you're getting the most bang for your buck in this film when it comes to your 4K Blu-ray player, or, you know, however you're watching this. Those scenes are what takes advantage of the amazing cinematography in this film. And another thing I liked about the 4K transfer, it is presented in an aspect ratio of 1:85:1, which means you basically almost fill the entire screen. You have very, very minuscule black bars at the top and bottom of the screen, unlike the usual 16:9 aspect ratio, where the main action is kind of scrunched in the middle of the screen. So they did a great job with that particular transfer. I do like when filmmakers and studios release their Blu-rays with that aspect ratio, because again, you're getting all that real estate on your screen versus the usual, you know, black bars taking up the majority of the picture. When it comes down to effects, Weta Digital, who is world famous and does a lot, Weta Digital is handling the effects side of things, and the de-aging they did on Will Smith for certain shots amazing, top notch, looks really, really good. It looked like what they did, and I think I remember hearing this in one of the special featurettes, they used reference footage of Will Smith from his Fresh Prince of Bel-Air days, as far as just to get reference to how his skin and his face looked basically 20 years ago. But again, you've got that super high frame rate, no motion blur. There are times when it's jarring and you're looking at it and it just doesn't work, or it doesn't quite feel right. One of the biggest examples is a shot basically near the end of the film. It looks like it might have been one of the early effect shots, to be honest, because it's like young Will's face just looks wrong. It's like if you freeze frame it and just look at it, it's like it just looks off. And it could maybe because it's it was a daytime shot, or it was a shot in broad daylight, so it's even harder for them to tighten up the effect. I don't know. But in this particular case, it looked really, really jarring, and it just kind of didn't work for me. But at the same time, that high frame rate was kind of a curse, in the sense of there are not very many theaters here in the States that can show that film at full 120 frames a second in 3D. And they say that's the best way to experience this film. There's a problem with that, though. It's like, how many theaters are equipped to show that film that way? So sometimes you set the bar so high, it's like, okay, well, that's great that you had this great vision, and it probably looks supreme, and perfect in that small number of theaters. But when you get it home, you have to cut it down in half, like you have to cut it down to 60 frames a second. So that's part of why this film, when you watch it at home, looks a little bit odd, because it is, being shown 60 frames a second. And it looks strange. It almost looks like you're watching the behind the scenes of the film and not the film itself. And sometimes it's very jarring, and it's very, it's off-putting, but at the same time, you can kind of, once you get used to it, once you watch the movie and your eyes kind of adjust to it, you get used to it. But at the same time, for me, it felt very much like I was watching the behind the scenes documentary of the film. Now, when it comes to extras on the Blu-ray, they did pack it to a degree. No director commentary, no commentary from anybody, no cinematographer commentary, no commentary from Ang Lee, nothing from the effects guys at Weta Digital, nothing. So I personally like director's commentaries, or I like commentary tracks when I watch films. It's just, a little extra insight and extra background on how they do a particular scene, or what the filming, was like. Because again, I do like not just watching films, I do like the entire filmmaking process. When it comes down to extras, though, I mean, of course, they do have your standard Blu-ray extras. Yes, they have little featurettes about the filming, about of course, the face replacement, because again, Will Smith was playing both parts, but there were obviously going to be times, especially when they had the fight in the catacombs, where you need an actual body or face double, body double rather, or a stunt double to play against. Because again, if you're fighting against air, we've all seen enough films where it's going to look fake and it's going to look wrong. So they have featurettes about the face replacement and the de-aging, and then of course the stunts and that sort of thing, and also a little bit about Mary Elizabeth Winstead's training for fight, her fight training, because she does have a fight scene in this film as well. Overall, the movie was okay. I would definitely say, if you're going to, now you guys know me, I buy everything physical for the most part, but this one, I got it just because it was there and I hadn't seen it. I did want to see it and of course review it for you guys. But if you're on the fence about it, I would say rent it, or if you're really into streaming, or if you got a streaming service that is offering it, watch it that way. It's not really necessary to buy the film, unless you're like me and you like owning physical media and you want to maybe dig into those special features a little bit more. But all in all, Gemini Man was a fun ride, but the film itself wasn't really that great. Very straightforward, very cliche, very follows a lot of the standard tropes that you get into. And I don't know, shout out to Will Smith again. I appreciate what you do as an actor and of course a filmmaker, but I would like to see you play a villain role. Not Deadshot. Your Deadshot wasn't a true villain role. I'm talking about a villain role. I would enjoy seeing that. So, you know, Will Smith, if you happen to be watching this, you know, just a suggestion. You know, just something I personally would like to see as a fan. But you guys know me. I got to leave you with some final words. For many of you out there, the day you saw a trailer where Will Smith walked up, asked another young man, what is it about yourself that makes you think that you're better than me? And the young man turns around and it's a young Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Will Smith, looking back at him saying, I'm the best. For many of you guys, that was a very odd experience in that theater, and you probably got a little bit of a chuckle. But hey, for me,
It was Tuesday.
I'll see you guys next time.
If you're enjoying our content, please consider going to our Patreon and becoming a supporter. There are different tiers to select from, and we thank you for your support.
Culture Junkies!